Hi, my name's Greg. Today I'm going to be replacing front brakes on my truck, pads, and rotors. I've had some noise lately, and I've kind of already done a re-inspection and bought the parts. One of the things for this brake job is retracting the caliper pistons, and it's important to check the brake fluid first. You kind of see the level through the side, but I'm actually going to remove the lid anyway. This actually looks like the fluid level is down quite a bit. If there's any doubt, I'll normally remove a little bit with some type of suction device like a turkey baster. Alright, so we're now at a point, we're almost ready to remove the caliper to knuckle bolts, but first I'm going to compress the caliper piston somewhat, just to make caliper removal easier. And I just have a screwdriver between the rotor and the caliper itself. It doesn't have to be a lot. So now move back a little bit. Loosen the brake line banjo bolt before the caliper's unbolted. I'm going to loosen it and just give it a little snug so it doesn't leak. I think we're ready to remove the caliper bolts. Alright, since the caliper is being replaced, this really isn't required, but I'm demonstrating it. If you're simply doing pad replacement, then you will need to retract the caliper piston fully in order for the caliper to fit over the assembly. So I actually have this tool, a simple C-clamp around the caliper body, and the old pad is cheap and simple enough. This tool just fits between the pad and the outer caliper housing. Alright, it's there, fully retracted. The caliper is definitely sticky. The caliper bolts have to slide in and out this metal sleeve. But the metal sleeve has rubber bushings around it. That also has to move freely and easily, and these aren't doing that. One factor in replacing the caliper, I know the bolt, sleeve, and rubber bushing kit was probably $10. I think fully rebuilt calipers were maybe 15 to 19. So with the age of the truck, it's a 96 and 150,000 miles. I have to do this. There isn't a lot of thickness to rotors to have them remachined, but if you were going to have them machined and reused, if you look at the hub to rotor mating surface, you can see this is full of scale and rust, and you want that to be a nice surface finish so you don't get any metal run out in the rotor leading to brake pulsation. So keep that in mind. I usually try and spray the surfaces down with a solvent like brake clean to kind of not only minimize that dust, I got this from the local parts store. I use probably a number of methods to clean both the hub face and also the sliding surface where the brake caliper mates the knuckle. I have that off. You can see with the brake hose pinch, there's a minimum of fluid loss. And I am capturing the brake fluid in a drain pan. I have my banjo bolt removed. I'm going to wash that down with brake clean. Your hands. Here, copper washer is now stuck. I'm going to wash this fitting again. And just kind of do a general inspection. Try to get it clean as possible with the wire brush. This is the new caliper, and you can see it already comes pre-greased. This is an important step of any brake job. Because these metal bushings are in contact with rubber, you do not want to use wheel bearing grease or any type of petroleum type product. It will swell the rubber, causing the caliper to stick and wear your brake pads prematurely. So these are already greased washers, and one's going to go on the outside. And the other two that is the caliper is ready to be fitted to the line. The bolt should be started by hand only. A thin layer of anti-seize where the rotor is going to mount. Anti-corrosion material that normally has to be removed. This is a Bosch rotor. It's got like a phosphate or some type of anti-corrosive material applied to the surface, and it's throughout component. It's almost like a silver paint or finish. Experience has shown that it's not oily and it's not greasy, so it really doesn't have to be washed off with brake parts cleaner, which is the norm. Generally, when the rotors are taken out of the plastic, they do have like an oily type material, and that's just to prevent corrosion in shipment and storage until you get them home. But normally you would wash this, wipe it off with a clean rag, and then maybe do another rinse until you do have that oily rust preventative removed. Not only does the caliper slide surface on the knuckle here have to be lubed, but the inboard pad also, there is a surface that it's going to rest on as the caliper moves. That's going to get some lubricant applied also. I'm now ready to install the rotor material. And what's worked best for me, I always just take a lug nut and thread that on, kind of hold it in place. It's easier for assembly to get transferred to the rotor when this is assembled. And the brake pads themselves, you can see it has metal tabs, and that's just going to keep the pad in place. It's going to lock it to the caliper piston. This has fingers on it. The rotor or the caliper, you can see, has holes, and these kind of have a divot to them, so that just helps hold the pad in place. The brake line to the caliper bolt is snug, so we can go ahead and we're ready to mount the caliper. I have also put some lube on the caliper to knuckle sliding surface. One thing about these, don't have a hex head. It's just an Allen type, and I always just take a socket and kind of use that to finger tighten to at least start the fastener. That way it eliminates any occurrences of cross threading. So many times thread locking agent is called out. I did consult the service information. In this case, it's not required. The top bolt started. Again, I'm just using the socket. I did disassemble it with an air ratchet. I'm not going to go ahead and use that for reassembly. And always make sure you torque the bolts to the manufacturer's specification. Just tighten this. Again, make sure the fasteners are torqued to the manufacturer's specification. Calipers are bolted on. We need to bleed the hydraulic system. I'm actually going to flush the brake system also. I took a turkey baster and removed the fluid from master cylinder reservoir. We removed the fluid and wiped out the reservoir with a lint-free rag. I have some new brake fluid. Alright, so you can now see the job is almost completed. I'm nearly ready to mount my wheel. We did bleed all the brake circuits, starting with the farthest wheel from the master cylinder. So we're at the point the wheel's mounted. It's tight, but not at its final torque, and it's going to raise the vehicle to support. I've set the torque wrench to 120 foot-pounds, and I'm going to work in a star pattern, just like I did when I'm installing the wheel. really it. We'll go ahead and close the hood. One thing before you start it with the vehicle on the ground, just give that brake pedal a few last applications, make sure that it's where it's at. You should be ready for a test drive.